At the Conn-Selmer Brass Instrument Plant in Elkhart, Indiana, Bob Stem was doing his best to sell us a shiny new trombone by playing the PBS siren song. When last month's jobless rate came out, we showed how stalled RV sales had ravaged Elkhart. But the town is also famous for musical instruments. And that business, too, is, like my trombone tryout, more than a little flat. As school budgets have shrunk, so have school bands, driving down sales. The last time the company was under siege from Chinese competition 3 years ago, it cut wages from about $23 to $18 an hour and eliminated piecework, by which the fastest workers earned much more. The cuts prompted a strike that still drags on, though just a few ex-workers still man a makeshift protest shed across from the plant.
Because we're still holding out, asking for a fair negotiated contract.
But in this crisis, Conn-Selmer was making more horns than the market would bear. So it tried a new approach, what it calls pain sharing. Instead of cuts in hourly pay or massive layoffs, CEO John Stoner suggested cutting the work week.
We felt pretty comfortable that with everything else going on in the Elkhart community, knowing people and neighbors are losing jobs, that they would say, I'd rather have a job even 4 days a week than not having a job.
With layoffs and a wage freeze for higher-paid salaried workers, some 25 jobs have been saved in a factory of 125 line workers, one of whom is Ryan Porzelius, fiddling here with a flugelhorn.
This way more people get to work. You know, I'm not a selfish guy. I don't mind giving up a little for the greater good of the whole, you know.
Stephanie Artley, who came back to work after striking for a year, makes sure the trombone slides.
You know, it's kind of like who gets in the lifeboat, who doesn't get in the lifeboat. So I think it's better if we all get an oar and just kind of paddle along, keep each other floating. This pain sharing is the flip side of a notable trend in American business in recent years: gain sharing. It's been on the upswing since the 70s, says economist Richard Freeman.
And it turns out almost 50% of American workers have some form of these sharing arrangements.
So it's stock ownership?
Or profit sharing, and some people will have stock options as well.
Compensation is thus a lot more flexible than it used to be, rising in the good times, falling in the bad. Is that buffering us from the downturn?
I think yes. And so we would see jobs going even faster if it wasn't for this kind of buffering.
Buffering? Because if compensation automatically shrinks whenever share prices or profits drop, the company saves money and isn't under as much pressure to slash wages or lay people off. Boston nonprofit Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center has no stock or profits, but is going Conn-Selmer one better.
I mean, what's the annual gross?
$1.4 billion.
$1.4 billion?
Yeah.
In March, CEO Paul Levy faced a $20 million deficit as cash-strapped patients put off care and funders pulled back, threatening 600 jobs. He convened a series of open meetings.
I said to the staff, I'd really like to avoid layoffs to the extent possible because it's a hard time for people to get jobs. And many people's spouses have already lost their jobs, and we don't want to put folks through that. In addition, I said to them, I'd like to do what we can to protect the low-wage earners in the hospital, the housekeepers, the transporters, the food service workers. And the response from people was overwhelmingly positive.
In fact, meeting after meeting broke out in uproarious applause. Levy received 648 employee emails suggesting cuts that have saved $16 million so far. A halt to 401k matches. No more free BlackBerries. Less comp time. Pay givebacks from executives like Levy and the 12 chiefs of medicine like Surgeon Mark Gephardt.
From the Chiefs Group, we were able to come up with $350,000 as a donation by taking a cut in our salary.
450 low-wage jobs have been rescued thus far, like Ella Ryan's in food services.
I would have been very devastated because after I've been working here for 23 years, and with the economy right now, I wouldn't know where to turn to find, another job.
Detlev Sudorov, who teaches human resource management at Brandeis University, says pain sharing from the top isn't just humane, but smart.
If it starts at the top, And if the executive level and below take dramatic action to role model that, yes, I believe that people will respond with loyalty, people will respond with greater work efforts, and people will adjust their own personal economic needs to help the company survive.
At Brandeis itself, in fact, several lower-wage staff jobs were saved by a 1% salary cut volunteered by the faculty. As it happens, I meet regularly with a group of Brandeis professors to study poetry.
The face I carry with me last when I go out of time.
Robin Miller is reading an Emily Dickinson poem about the poet's secret love.
That face will just be thine.
This has got to be a poem that's addressed to the guy she wrote the master letters to.
The guy she was supposedly in love with, and that the erotic or passionate poems are written to.
Yeah.
But this is the guy...
But whoever he is, he's the demon lover, not the real man anyway.
Yes. The real man behind the Brandeis Share initiative was Billy Flesch, president of the Faculty Senate.
The university decided that they didn't want to do salary cuts across the board for various reasons, including what a bad signal it sends to possible future faculty, to faculty who are here now and who might therefore want to leave. But I suggested that we could volunteer cuts.
Volunteer anonymously, only to take effect if more than 30% of the faculty signed on. 36% did.
It's meaningful because it's actually saved jobs. There is something very tangible.
English professor Laura Quinney.
And the sacrifice is a visible and real one. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
It would have been...
John Burt is also an English professor.
Very uncomfortable to lay people off when you were sitting there quite safe.
With tenure.
With tenure, you bet.
But even here at famously progressive Brandeis, barely a third of the faculty volunteered. Some of those who declined, like biologist Michael Rossbosch, said they would have contributed, but distrust the managers who run the school.
It's not for lack of social conscience. It's for who got us in these problems and who's going to get us out of them.
So sharing, it seems, depends on trust. In fact, at the strike shed outside Conn-Selmer, the militants think pain sharing is a euphemism for business as usual, with the workers sharing all the pain.
We are going to fight to the end, if it's death.
David Kish's distrust is so deep, you can't imagine him accepting any management proposals, to share or not to share.
Okay, my opinion would be to inflict as much damage on this company as they had inflicted on the workers.
Our last stop, a fire station in New Bedford, an hour south of Boston, suggests just how difficult pain sharing can be.
We work 24-hour shifts here, so we basically live together for the entire day.
Workers here rejected 157 to 39, a 10% wage cut offered as an alternative to layoffs. When the workers refused, those with the least seniority were axed. Brian Gallant among them.
My dream job, not just to be a firefighter, but to be a New Bedford firefighter. My father he's been a firefighter here for about 31 years, and his father before him was a firefighter for 31 years, so that was my goal.
Sure to be among the first fired, Gallant voted to accept the pay cut.
I guess all the guys at the bottom of the seniority list who felt that they were going to get laid off kind of cling to somewhat, some hope and voted yes.
Gallant's father, the station captain, voted yes as well.
I voted to take the pay cut myself because I'm in my last year, and I felt, the future of the department rested with these 35 individuals, and I could take the hit for a year.
But like most, Jim Allen, head of the local firefighters union, voted no to givebacks.
It was a very tough vote for me. Being the union head and having the years of union philosophy of never give back anything, and knowing the people that would lose their jobs. Brian's a friend of my daughter's. Brian comes over to my house and has dinner with us and comes to parties, and so it's difficult. And a lot of those guys are in the same boat.
And yet, says Allen, in a place where the top of the pay scale with overtime is roughly $60,000 a year, you ask,
how much can I afford to give up? And in this case, the members felt it was too much.